In a word, I would say a lot. So what was clear from the tariffs were that they're targeted at Asia. Why? Because Trump's rebalancing of global trade and reordering and restructuring of global trade means that trade's going to move from Asia to Latin America to Mexico. So if you look at the tariff rates, Mexico is now much more competitive because it doesn't have such high tariff rates. Vietnam was slapped with tariff rates. They're going to become less competitive. So what does this mean for currencies? Well, the first currency we need to look at is the Chinese yuan.
Yes.
Because in 2018, we saw the Chinese yuan depreciate quite significantly to offset some of these tariffs. We've been saying that that's going to be very difficult to do it this time round because the PBOC wants to maintain stability. But ultimately, a 54% tariff on your economy is going to put significant downside pressure on your currency. So I think it's going to be a real challenge for the PBOC to defend that kind of 7.3 level that they've been really working to defend. And the risk is if you have, for example, investors who start to think, well, maybe the PBOC can't defend it at that level. Maybe they're going to let it depreciate to 7.4% level, 7.4 to the dollar, or even lower. Then you start to see maybe some concerns that not only will you get more tariffs, because Trump's going to say, why are you depreciating your currency? We're going to tariff you even more. But the knock-on effect for Asian currencies more broadly and emerging market currencies more broadly is going to put a lot of downside pressure on them as well.
So I just want to bring this back because these reciprocal tariffs, as you mentioned, were based off of the tariffs that are being charged to the United States. It's a bit surprising to note that there are these high tariffs that they're claiming are being charged to the United States. Now, as a person who's big enough to admit that he barely passed macroeconomics 20 years ago, how accurate are these calculations of the tariffs that the U.S. is basing their retaliatory tariffs on? Because it's a bit surprising to see that they're saying that Cambodia's got a 97% tariff, for instance, on the United States. Myanmar has something in the range of the 80s. Are the calculations making any sense?
No, they don't. So the calculations don't make any sense, and also how they've targeted different economies doesn't make that much sense either. So, for example, the fact that key strategic partners have a tariff of 25%, yet Russia has no tariff, for example, or the fact that India, which is one of the most protectionist markets in the world, has a lower tariff rate than other economies. So in that regard, these tariffs don't make that much sense. They make a little bit more sense if you think, well, what are they trying to achieve geopolitically? Which is, okay, India doesn't get hit so bad. Why? Because the U.S. wants huge access to that huge market, right? Russia doesn't get hit at all, maybe because Trump is trying to say, well, we need Russia on our side, so we want to really give them a sweetener, right? And so you see that from a geopolitical risk lens, there are huge reasons to think why this is odd.